And welcome back to Our Community. Susie Thomas here with Natalie McCleskey and Scott Schneiders from the Homeless Continuum of Care. And all right, let's nail down a few things. There are reasons that people are homeless. Can you tell us some of those reasons? It's often not that they've missed a house payment, something like that. But why is a person homeless? What leads to this state?
Well, there's a lot of factors, I think, that come into play. We recently did our first annual report, and so there is a lot of details in there about different factors. And this report can be found on our website, which is www.starkcountyhomeless.com. But one of the charts in there that come to mind with that question is on, a lot of times people think that everyone experiencing homelessness maybe has a mental illness or things like
or
that,
drugs.
Which is a large percentage. But so some of the data that we were able to pull from our system showed that actually 19% of those have no mental health or alcohol or drug concerns going on. So 19% of them, that's not the issue at all. For the others, there are mental health or substance abuse issues going on that's causing the homeless episodes and challenges associated with that. Another factor, too, that we identified was that about 70% of those within the system have some kind of criminal records. Now, a lot of those are minor criminal records, but criminal histories often prevent people from not just housing, but employment opportunities that obviously are necessary to maintain the housing that they gain. And I'm sure Scott could kind of share a lot more on different things like that, barriers.
Yeah, especially when it comes to criminal history, we get a fair amount of people who are they're either coming out of prison or coming out of Stark County Jail, and they don't have any place to go either because of what they were in jail for or just their current scenario. And so then they'll kind of end up at one of the shelters. That's probably a factor that we didn't talk about.
And then what kinds of things are offered to them to help them get back on their feet? Are there programs to help someone who's getting out of jail be able to get a job and find a place to live and get back on their feet?
Yeah, I mean, there's agencies wide. That's what I do and most of the case managers. And Stark County does a pretty good job of really making sure we've worked really hard to make the services easily accessible. So whether it's healthcare, if you have a major health issue and you're homeless and maybe that was a factor, there's access to healthcare, which can get you seen rather quickly. There's also access to behavioral health, which also gets them seen very quickly if they have a severe mental health. And those places work with the shelters. There's different job programs through Stark County Jobs and Family Services where people can go and get resumes made. Things like that. And then if they have a mental health issue, they probably would get assigned a caseworker who will then kind of help navigate through kind of what things are the most pressing and help them to navigate the system. But there's access to all kinds of services through the continuum of care when they're in a place like a shelter or connected through their mental health provider that can kind of help them get connected to the services that they need.
And I'll add, too, I think another factor, is even folks who are working. I mean, we have people in shelters who have jobs, so that's kind of a misconception, too, sometimes of people who are homeless. But, even somebody working a minimum wage full-time job is not making enough to afford just their basic rental,
food, clothing,
payments,
shelter.
and things. So,
and lots of places don't want to hire minimum wage people at 40 hours a week. So even if they can find a job, if it pays minimum wage, usually they'll only let them work 30 hours a week so that they don't.
So there's no health
coverage. And so you get into this situation where they're kind of like caught between a rock and a hard place because they have a job that they don't want to lose, but then in order to find a new job, you're giving up something that I know I can do this one, I have it, to lean on. So they've experienced some of those barriers too. Other things people don't think about is travel. A lot of the jobs then they'd have to find would have to be on the bus line, which can be difficult. But then also the buses don't run on Sunday, so they couldn't have a place that, requires them to be there on a Sunday as well. And so it's more than just, kind of the main or the common perceived culprits of what causes
Right. So
Right. You can't just say, come on, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and get
I mean,
to it.
sometimes it's just a lack of being able to afford
it's
housing,
complicated and it's
for-
discouraging. Yeah. So you are offering folks hope, basically.
We try.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking also when you're talking about the person who's been incarcerated, there's got to be a certain mental frame of mind that for so much of those days they're told exactly where to go, exactly what to do, exactly when to do it. But where they live is not an issue. What they eat is not an issue. That's all done for them. And then suddenly you're probably dealing with someone who there's a bit of, for lack of a better term, nervousness about taking care of themselves again. Do you find that to be true? And tell us about some of the people that you've worked with as you help them to re-enter and get back on their feet.
I mean, they do experience the nervousness, but I don't think it's maybe exaggerated from anybody else who's homeless for the first time, because they have all these preconceived ideas coming in about that people are going to be mean or dangerous or rude, which hasn't been for the most part. I mean, there are those people, but those people are everywhere. You know, it doesn't matter your income level or where you're living at. They find actually that they're people that they're either staying in shelters with are usually sensitive to them. They are very kind. They kind of have that shared experience now of, you know, they want to kind of look out for each other. And so they do experience maybe some minorly increased level from our average client, but for the most part, it's not that different. What we help them do is kind of give them like, hey, other people have been in your situation who've come out of prison and they've been able to find jobs. Here are some different groups. There's a group called Men's Challenge who works with guys who have maybe not ideal criminal records, and so but they work with different companies and they do like an 8-week training class to help them get them on their feet.
Nice.
Give them just basic life advice, and Pastor Gill there meets with them, and there's some other training programs too, but basically it's like, hey, there's been people like you who've been here before and they've been able to make it out, and sometimes that's enough, you know, to motivate somebody, and also just reassuring them that, hey, people are out there advocating for you. We want you to be in your own apartment. We want you to get a job and be able to do this on your own.
And we have a great partnership, too, with a group called the Reentry Coalition, which is doing some great things around reentry and doing videos while folks are still in before they're exited, and highlighting different partners in the community who they can reach out to, and a citizen circle where returning citizens can come and actually meet, you know, face to face with a host of different agencies and groups that have different services available to help them. So
Yeah, I'm thinking of a Will Smith movie, The Pursuit of Happiness, that was just so amazing. That was a true story. Do you have any stories like that where someone's really been able to make a go of it? Just a true success story that's an inspiration to the other people who might be able to come back and speak to them as well.
I mean, actually, where I work, we have 2 people who work as our night supervisors who were both formerly clients. So they were people who came in both for very different reasons. But while they were there, we're kind of able to use the services available to them in Stark County at different agencies and kind of get their life back to something that was more manageable for them. One was drugs, one was coming out of foster care, and they were able to, you know, get themselves kind of solidified and stable. And then we were looking for people who, you know, we knew we could trust and, you know, who had shown some growth both personally and, you know, taking responsibility for stuff, and we're able to bring them on, and it's great for other clients who come in who maybe think they can't make it. They say, you don't know what it's like, I'm never getting out of here, and they're like, actually I do know what it's like. I used to sleep in bed 12. And
That's got to mean so
you know,
much.
Oh yeah, it's super helpful and motivating for them. And those stories are true at all of the different agencies in town. You see all kinds of people who are kind of able to do more than maybe even I could muster up in myself in those moments, and really show incredible amounts of resiliency in the face of really, you know, dire circumstances.
Yeah,
So it's
truly.
encouraging.
We're speaking with Natalie McCleskey and Scott Schneiders. They're both from the Homeless Continuum of Care. Okay, what can we do? What kinds of things do you need? I'm thinking funding, volunteering, or just items that you might need at this time of year as we get into colder days and evenings.
Definitely. I mean, I would say first thing would be definitely I would encourage any of the listeners, if they're interested in this work, to become a member of the Continuum of Care, to get involved in learning about what's going on.
And anyone can?
Yes, anyone can. They would just contact me, and my details are on that website that I gave you earlier.
Please give it again.
www.starkcountyhomeless.org, and my email address is right on there. They can just send me an email with their details, and they'll be put on my group email to send out notifications about meetings and opportunities to get involved, and for them to really see, maybe the area that really interests them, whether it's, working with folks in shelter, working with youth, wherever is an area where they can give expertise or, experience or just a better understanding of things. So that would be the number one thing that I would say. The whole system is, it's a complex thing. As we said, there's so many different arms and so many different areas that somebody could potentially make a difference in somebody's life. And so to really start to understand that. And then second of all, I would say definitely volunteering for different things. I know our shelters and different homeless programs always have different events throughout the year that they could get involved with. Annually, we do our point in time count during January, and so volunteers who would be willing to come and help do, just brief surveys and identifying people who are experiencing homelessness, that will be great, and I can definitely get more information to you around that as it comes closer. And then something that Scott can share a little bit more on is that we are planning some overflow kind of winter shelters to make sure that we don't have anybody sleeping unsheltered during this winter months. And so Refuge of Hope, where Scott works, is taking a lead on that for single men and single women. And so I don't know if they have some needs as far as donations or things like that. But
Yeah, some of the kind of things we have done the men's shelter before the emergency, so we have most of that stuff. But for the women, extra towels, blankets are also helpful. Pillows are actually a huge need. We never can seem to get enough pillows, and especially for the emergency shelters, we like to make sure they have pillows for their cots as well. Any type of female hygiene, whether it's lotion, deodorant, shampoo, stuff like that they might be able to use. Again, we have lots of it for our male clients, but we don't generally work with female clients, so anything in that vein would be helpful to use. And then just think about like shower shoes, because they'll need to be showering in different facilities, and just so like flip-flops, something that they can wear into the showers.
Seems very easy, because what we need to do is just get it on top of the mind, so that we're thinking about this next time we're in Mark's or the grocery store. Just pick up a few extra items. Be so easy to pick up an extra bottle of shampoo or two, feminine products, anything that would be necessary to help these people and to make them feel welcome as they enter into a shelter. And just how nice to get a little care package of essentials that will make their landing a little softer.
And that's ongoing throughout our shelters, I think, throughout the year, just those kind of needs. So
Great. Thank you so much for being here. All right.
Thank you.
And
Thanks.
number one more time, please.
Number what?
Your phone number one more time.
Oh, the homeless hotline number?
Oh, the homeless hotline number, if you have somebody who you meet who's homeless, 330-452-4363.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You've been listening to Our Community for the Light 95.9. I'm Susie Thomas. Thanks for joining us.